अभी मॉर्निंग सुबह मैं गई हूँ। आप ಮುಂದೆ ಎಲ್ಲ
ओम श्री राम जय जय राम। चैप्टर 2 संजय उवाच तं तथा कृत्याविष्टम् अश्रुपूर्णाकुलेक्षणं विसर्दन्तमिदं वाक्यम् उवाच मधुसूदनः। श्री भगवान उवाच तस्मलमिदं विषमे समुपस्थितम् अनार्यदुष्टमस्वर्ग्यं कीर्तिकरमर्जुन कैवल्यमस्तमकम पार्थनैकत्वप्युपपद्यते शूद्रं हृदये दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप। अर्जुन उवाच कथं भीष्ममहं संख्ये द्रोणं च मधुसूदन इषुभिः प्रतियोत्स्यामि पूजार्हवरिसूदन गुरुन् हत्वा हि महानुभावान् श्रेयो भोक्तुं वैक्षसमीय लोके अत्वाथ कामास्तु गुरुनिहैव पुञ्जीय भोगानरुभिर प्रद्यग्रान् न चैतद्विघ्नकतरन्नो गरीयो यद्वा जयं यदि वा नो जयेयुः ज्ञानेव हत्वा नदीविसांस्ते वस्थिता प्रमुखे धातराष्ट्रा कार्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभाव पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसमूढचेता यच्छेन्यस्यानिश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं साधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नं न हि प्रपश्यामि समापुनुद्यात् यच्छोकमुत्तोषण इन्द्रियाणाम् अवाक्यभुवा सपत्नमूर्धं राज्यं सुराणापि चाधिपत्यम् एवमुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशं गुडाकेश परन्तप न योत्स्यन्ति गोविन्दं मुक्त्वा कृष्णीर्बभूवः। तमुवाच ऋषिकेश प्रहसन्निव भारत सेनयोरुर्वरोर्मध्ये निषीदन्तमिदं वच अशोच्यान्वशोचस्त्वं प्रज्ञास्वादांश्च भासते गतासुं च नानुशोचन्ति पंडिताः। भगवान् उवाच न त्वेवाहं जातुनासं न त्वं ज्ञेने जनाधिपा न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परं देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः धीरस्तत्सतमुयति मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्णं सुखदुःखदा आगमापायिनो नित्यास्तान्तिः भारत यं हि न व्यथयन्त्येते पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभ समदुःख सुखं धीर सोऽनुत्वाय कल्पते नासतो विद्यते भावो नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि द्रष्टुं त्वं नयोस्तत्त्वतदर्शिभिः अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशं यस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति अन्तवन्तैमे देहा नित्ययुक्ता शरीरणम् अनाशिनो न प्रमेयस्य तस्माद्युध्यस्व भारत येनं वेति हन्तारं यश्चैनं मन्यते हतम् उभौ तौ जानीतो नायं हन्ति न हन्यते न जायते म्रियते वा न कदापि सायं भूत्वा भविता वा यान भूय अजोह नित्य शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरम्। वेदा विनाशिनं नित्यं य एव जनमव्ययं कथं स पुरुषः पार्थ संघातयति हन्तिकं वाशांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णान्यन्यानि संयान्ति नवानि देहि नैनं छिदन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः नैचैनं क्लेदयन्तापो न शोषयति मारुतः अच्छेद्योऽयं दायोऽयम् अक्लेद्यो शोष्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतस्थाणुः अचलोऽयं सनातनः अव्यक्तोऽचिन्त्योऽयम् अविकार्योऽयमुच्यते तस्मादेवं विदत्वैनं नानुशोचितुमर्हसि अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यवामन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाभावो नैवं शोचितुमर्हसि जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्यु ध्रुवं जन्मामृतस्य तस्माद् परिहार्येते न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमद्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना आश्चर्यवत्पश्यति कश्चिदेन आश्चर्यवद्वर्तत चान्यम् आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वानप्येयं न वेद चैव कश्चित् देहि नित्यं वद्योऽयं देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि स्वधर्मपि चावेक्ष्य न विकारी न विकम्पितुमर्हसि धर्माद्विरुद्धस्य सौम्यं प्रत्यक्षक्रियस विद्यते अदच्छया चोपपनं स्वर्गं द्वारं पावृतं सुखिनः क्षत्रिया पार्थ लभन्ते युधमीदृशम् अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यति तथा स्वधर्मकीर्ति च विश्वासाङ्कमवास्यसि अकीर्ति चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययम् सम्भावितस्य चाकीर्ति मरणादवतरीच्यते भयाद्रणादुपरतं मन्यंस्ते त्वां महारथा येषां च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम् अवाच्यवादां च बहुं वदस्यन्ति तवाहिता निम्नस्तन्त्व साम्राज्य ततो दुःखतरं मुखिम् अतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गं जित्वा मां मोक्ष्यसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चय सुख दुःखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि एषा ते भीता साङ्ख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्रिमां शृणु बुद्धया युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्ययायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात् व्यवस्थायात्मिका बुद्धि रेहेते कुरुनन्दन बहुशाखायनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनां यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं प्रवर्तन्त्यविपस्थित वेदवादरता पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति व्याधिनं कामात्मानो स्वर्गपरा जन्म कर्म फलप्रदां क्रिया विशेष बहुलां भोगस्त्वय्यगतिं प्रति भोगस्त्वय्य प्रसक्तानां तया कहत चेतसां व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धि समादौ न विधीयते त्रैगुण्य विषयादेव वेदा नैष्टिर्गुण्यो ब्रवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसस्वस्थो निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान् यावानर्थ उदपानि सर्वत्र संस्कृतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानत कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्मा ते सङ्गोस्त्वकर्मणि योगस्थ कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्धयोगो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योगयुज्यते दुरेण यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणा फलहेतव बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृतदुस्तुते तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योग कर्मसु कौशलम् कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्ध विनिर्मुक्ता पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम् यदा ते मोहकलीनं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदं श्रोतस्य श्रुतस्य च श्रुतिर्विप्रतिपन्ना ये यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला समाधावचला बुद्धिस्तदा योगमवाप्स्यति स्थितप्रज्ञस्य अर्जुनवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्थस्य केशव स्थितभिः किं प्रभासेत हिमासीत व्रजेत किम् अर्जुन उवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थ मनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्ट स्थितप्रज्ञस्य दुर्जते सुखे स्वनुविगम्ना सुखेषु विगतस्पृह वीतराग भयक्रोध स्थितधीर्मुच्यते सः सर्वान् विस्नेह तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभं नाभिनन्दन्ति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता यदा संहरते चायं कूर्मो ज्ञानीव सर्वतः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्य तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते यततोऽपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चित इन्द्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आश्रितमत्पर असेहि यस्तेन्द्रियाणि यस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता जायतो विषयान् पुंस सङ्गस्तेषुपजायते सङ्गात् संजायते काम कामात् क्रोधोऽपि जायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिर्भंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति रागद्वेषैर्नियुक्तैस्तु विषयान्द्रियैश्च आत्मवश्ये विधेयात्मा प्रसादमधिगच्छति प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्नचित्तसूर्यासु बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभावयत शक्ति अशान्तस्य कृतं सुखम् इन्द्रियाणां हि जरतां यन्मनो विधीयते तदस्य हरति प्रज्ञां वायुर्नावभिवाम्भत् तस्मादस्य महाभावो निगृहीतानि सर्वतः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्य तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता या निशा सर्वभूतानां तस्यां जागर्ति संयमे तस्या जागृति भूतानि सा निशा पश्यतो मुने आपूज्यमाणम् अचलं प्रतिष्ठं समुद्रमाप प्रविशन्ति यद्यत् तद्वत्कामायं प्रवर्षन्ति सर्वे शान्तिमाप्नोति न कामकामी विहाय कामान् यः सर्वान् पुमाश्चरति निःस्पृहः निर्ममो निरहङ्कार स शान्तिमधिगच्छति एषा ब्राह्मी स्थितिः पार्थ नैनां प्राप्य विमुह्यति स्थित्वा स्या अन्तकालेऽपि ब्रह्मनिर्वाणमुह्यति ओम तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे सांख्ययोगो नाम द्वितीयोऽध्यायः। ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम।
Ch-2, jnana, or illumination of the intellect. When thus moha, or attachment, weakens the will of Arjuna for the great action to which he is called, in keeping with the duty of the Lord that he is, the Supreme Godhead, dwelling in the hearts of all creatures, and present before him as Sri Krishna, the Incarnation, rouses him by words that condemn his faint-heartedness and cowardly impotence. Usually, in the progress of the soul, in his march towards a lofty ideal involving an action prompted by a generous impulse, created by an outlook of an expanded vision, the egoistic and selfish instinct in him subdues the noble impulse, rendering him inactive and helpless. At this juncture, the one thought of his own body and the interest of those dear and near to him shuts out the higher vision and the greater action made possible by that magnificent impulse. Here, the aspirant meets with a check, which makes him turn his back upon the new adventure. Moha, taking hold of the intellect, distorts its workings and saps the power of the will. Now, God within the heart of the human being, from within or in the form of a teacher outside, sets out first to awaken the intellect and then illumines it with a keen sense of discrimination. Here the aspirant meets with a check, which makes him turn his back upon the new adventure. Moha, taking hold of the intellect, distorts its workings and saps the power of the will. Now God within the heart of the human being, from within or in the form of a teacher outside, sets out first to awaken the intellect and then illumines it with a keen sense of discrimination. Moha, starting from the heart and possessing the intellect, mind, and will, throws the soul into ignorance, and the result is confusion and misery. Hence, to be free from weakness and sorrow, the first thing necessary is to eradicate moha from the heart. This could be done only when the intellect is enlightened and the soul is made to understand the right implications regarding the great problem of life and death. The attack which the divine teacher directed against moha is frontal, straight, and forceful. Moha denotes attachment to the changing and perishable beings and objects. The soul, bound by moha, thinks that his body and its perishable relations are all in all for him. Any loss or destruction of these means for him great pain or sorrow. To mourn over their loss appears to him quite natural and necessary. Arjuna, or any other similarly conditioned soul's predicament, is clearly due to a mind absorbed in the consciousness of the body and the external objects. Fear, grief, and anxiety can cease only when the mind is withdrawn and free from its attachment to these perishable things. To take the mind off the objects and disassociate it from them is the one thing needed. The soul has, in his state of bondage, forgotten his eternal and divine nature. To free the mind from attachment is to attain the awareness of soul's immortal, unchanging, and all-pervading being. Hence, the awakened intellect of Arjuna is made to discriminate between the destructible and the indestructible. He is asked to break the link of his mind with the former and unite it with the latter. He is told that all bodies and all forms are by nature subject to change and destruction, but the indwelling Atman, which is the one all-pervading truth and who is seated equally in all creatures and things, is eternal, ever unchanging, and imperishable. When the forms perish, when the bodies die, this supreme Atman does neither perish nor die. So, to be attached or have deep concern and anxiety for the forms is utter ignorance. Sri Krishna exhorts with great emphasis, O Arjuna, do not grieve for those whose death is inevitable, and let not your love for them desist you from performing a task which your martial spirit demands of you, a task which is so productive of good to humanity. A man generally engages himself in a philanthropic action of a narrow or vast significance egged on by ambition for glory, riches, or kingdom. A fighter's goal is obviously the certainty of the kingdom, while with others it is riches, high position, name and fame, or some coveted enjoyments of the other world. Arjuna thus took the battlefield with the object of gaining such a reward. Hence, victory or defeat meant for Arjuna either the lordship of the kingdom here or a reward of celestial pleasures in heaven. But Arjuna had already discarded the ambition for kingdom here or joys of heaven above. Stricken with despondency, he had said that he would rather be a mendicant living upon alms than slay his kinfolk and masters for any reward here or hereafter. Sri Krishna points out that by abandoning the fight, he would not only lose the gains he would have by his victory or death on the battlefield, but he would also be casting a stain on his hitherto unsullied honor of a hero. Sri Krishna urged these considerations, not because these alone were all sufficient for inducing Arjuna to stand up and fight, unshakably rooted in the supreme purpose and determination of the God-ordained war, but to make them a basis for the higher teachings he had yet to declare. All creatures and beings in the universe, as seen in their very diversity and taken in their totality, possess two aspects of existence, both having their root in and emanating from the one transcendent source of truth. The one is apparent and perishable, and the other is non-apparent and non-perishable. Viewed from this supreme unity and oneness of all life and existence, both in their manifest and unmanifest aspects, the slayer and the slain resolve into one, or, in other words, the slayer slays not, nor is slain. The eternal, unmanifest, is not touched or acted upon by sword, fire, water, or air, and the Atman is the same in all the manifestations. This philosophy is hammered on the intellect of Arjuna to liberate it from the delusion which Moha has generated in it. Truly, Unless the soul is free from his longings and attachment for the visible, changing, and perishable things, he cannot realize his identity with the eternal, immutable, and all-pervading truth of his being. Realization of this immortal state of the soul's existence alone frees him from the thraldom of action and from the touch of fear, doubt, and grief. Therefore, Krishna says, the way for Arjuna is to rise above the notion of pleasure and pain, success and failure, sin and virtue, arising out of an attachment for and identification with the flesh. This is done by a lucid process of thought and discrimination, distinguishing the real from the unreal, so as to fix himself steadfastly in the Atman, who is the inactive, birthless, and deathless reality. At this stage of Sri Krishna's discourse, we have a clear enunciation of a state beyond the dvandvas, by attaining which a man can live in the world doing all actions without incurring sin. What confuses the mind before transcending the pairs of opposites is the conflicting injunctions of the Shastras in regard to their rules of right and wrong actions. Even the ancient Vedic scriptures do not point out an absolute path of action. Since they enjoin on man certain rituals and ceremonies for obtaining material happiness here or in the other world, his mind is naturally caught in a maze of clashing dharmas, belonging to the three gunas of the lower human nature. Vedas reveal with the works relating to the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, so long as man is subject to the dharma of these three gunas, however exalted the dharma be in the ascending scale of these qualities, in moments of a crisis, such as the one which Arjuna had to face, the mind falls prey to doubt and uncertainty. Before rising above the gunas alone, man can find the true criterion for life and action here. Since the dharma, or conduct of life, set down by the Vedas is based upon works performed for a particular reward in view, which pertains to the sense enjoyments, it tends, instead of affecting the liberation of the soul, to rivet more firmly than ever the chain of karma on the soul, deluded with ignorance. Hence, real freedom in life, Sri Krishna declares, lies in transcending the gunas, which is same as freeing oneself from the obligations of the Dharma upheld by the Vedas. Gita is a message that leads the soul from a life of bondage to a state of complete freedom and joy. It prescribes a rule of action, free from the taint of desire, which is the sole cause of the soul's journey in the cycles of births and deaths. So, man must live in the field of action for the sake of action alone, and not for the fruits which the action brings. The soul's desire gives rise to attachment for action and its rewards. Now, how is one to do action without longing for its fruit? It is done by the soul's union with the supreme truth beyond the workings of the gunas. Here again, the divine teacher asks Arjuna to make use of the discrimination faculty of the intellect and identify himself with the supreme Atman. When the intellect is purified by the meditation of the reality, the conception of good and evil deeds is destroyed. The pure intellect enlightened with wisdom is attained by means of steady concentration and contemplation. The yoga here described is of a state of perfect harmony and equilibrium. with all the exposition of the yogic condition presented in the foregoing teaching, the inquiring mind of the aspirant would still wish to know what would be the external signs and mode of a life of a man who has attained this yoga. Hence the question of Arjuna on this subject. Sri Krishna replies that the yogi is he whose desires of the heart are dead, and who is ever content in his perfect union with the blissful Atman. He would dispassionately look upon the pleasures and pains resulting from contact with sense objects. He would be free from wrath, hatred, and fear. Having perfect control over his mind and senses, he would ever remain calm and unaffected by good or evil fortune, and by the effects of attraction and repulsion. It is not sufficient for the yogi merely to reject the objects of sense, but the desire for them must be uprooted from the heart. This becomes possible only when the soul is fully merged in and has become perfectly one with the all-pervading existence of God. It is evident from what has been said that the heart's desire and the moha arising therefrom are causes of man's downfall. So long as his mind is thinking on the objects of sense, he cannot rise to the height of yoga. The purified buddhi, achieved through the high concentration, is prone to be dragged down by the powerful pull of the mind and the senses. The moment desire, or kama, springs up in the mind and waxes strong, feeding upon the objects through the senses, it gives birth to wrath, which hurls the soul into delusion, with the ultimate result that the awakened and illumined intellect is again obsessed by the binding darkness of ignorance. Therefore, the peace and the harmony of equilibrium or yoga is maintained intact by complete self-control through strict self-discipline. By the practice, the fallen aspirant regains his lost yoga. So to subdue desire and the resultant moha, the restless mind and the senses have to be brought under subjection of the Atman. By this practice, the fever of the senses is abated, and the rush of the mind is checked and stopped, and the soul enjoys the unshakable peace of the eternal. Now the yogi awakes in the realm of the immortal spirit and sleeps with regard to the external world manifestation, whereas the case of the ignorant soul is quite the reverse. The yogi's desire being dead, and he being free from egoism and unruffled by outside events and happenings, attains the eternal. Even he who is fixed in the eternal at the time of the dissolution of his body is absorbed in the immortal being of God.
step down. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. We have read the second chapter today in original Sanskrit and also our beloved Papa's commentary on the same. In this chapter, the Lord is trying to give courage and lift the mood of Arjuna, who was obsessed by moha and became completely unnerved. The first thing necessary to remove moha from our mind is to get some knowledge, get a clear idea of what we are, and then our connection with the outside world, connection with others, and our connection with God, the Supreme Being from whom we have come. Usually, man sees only the world that is visible to the naked eye, and he knows there is nothing more. He takes this to be the supreme reality, as he has no idea of anything higher than this. How is it called now? What we see before us and what we consider as real is not real. This is only a passing show. This comes into existence, stays for some time, and perishes. So, what comes and goes cannot be real. Anything, including our body, the entire world before us, comes, stays for some time, and disappears. Therefore, these cannot be real. Now, the Lord teaches Arjuna what is real. There is something on which the entire creation or whatever is seen before us is standing. There must be some substratum for all this, and that is called Atma or Purusha or the Spirit. And our real being is not this apparent body, but the Spirit that is the driving force of this manifestation of these names and forms. So Arjuna is taught that by killing others in the war, he is not killing the reality, which is eternal, and therefore is not affected by so-called birth and death. It has no birth and death, and it cannot be killed in any way. It is not affected by fire, water, ether, or anything. So, and that is our real Swarupa. If this knowledge we have, we will be able to deal with all situations in the world with perfect equanimity. Nothing will affect us. Now we are affected by small things only because we think we are the body and others are also the so-called body that we see before us. So our identification is only with the body and not with our real being, that is the Atman or spirit. If we have this knowledge, we will be able to do things properly and will not be affected by the results of our own actions. So, Arjuna is asked to understand this and identify himself with his true being and existence, that is his spirit, and fight the war. He should not worry what the results are. His duty as a warrior is to fight and not to retreat. By fighting the war, if he gains victory, he will be the monarch of the entire world. And if he is killed in the war, he will be going to the heaven. In either case, he is only going to be a beneficiary. He is not going to lose anything either way. But by refusing to fight and choosing to lead an itinerant life, he will be disgraced. A warrior coming to the battlefield loses courage and turns a mendicant. That disgrace will never leave him. That is how he was taunted by the Lord and was inspired to give up his mode of despondency and start fighting. He was also assured that by getting established in the self, by abiding in the self always, not identifying ourselves only with the body, but only identifying ourselves with the Atman or our spirit and getting established in it, we will be able to live in the world perfectly happy and peaceful. The signs of one who is abiding in the self always are given in a few slokas in this book. What is written in this sloka is actually showing the highest attainment of the spiritual aspirants. One who is established in it is never affected by what is happening in the world. He is always love. Can you read that portion? Siddhat Prajnasya Bhasha, that is the answer, and a few signs are given in it. Can you find out where the Siddhat Prajnasya begins?
What did you say?
Siddhat Prajnasya Bhasha, the translation is Papa's comment is here. The signs of one who is established in the self.
Second chapter.
Second chapter. Read that. The signs of one who is established in the self. These are the signs of one who is established, but even those who are trying to establish themselves in the self, that is, those spiritual aspirants, those sadhakas, are also very much benefited by their very practice. Because in the beginning of sadhana itself, they are not identifying themselves with the body and the external matter, but with the self and are only trying to get established in that experience. What is it? Think about it. Take that mic and take. Slowly, one sentence by sentence.
The exposition of the yogic condition presented in the foregoing teaching.
Slowly,
The
sentence by sentence.
inquiring mind of the aspirant who still wish to know what would be the external signs and mode of life of a man.
Slowly, loudly.
With all the exposition of the yogic condition presented in the foregoing teaching, the inquiring mind of the aspirant who still wish to know what would be the external signs and mode of life of a man who has attained this yoga.
Now slowly, one by one.
Hence, the question of Arjuna on this subject. Sri Krishna replies that the yogi is he whose desires of the heart are dead.
Whose desires of the heart are dead. One starts with slowly. The yogi is he whose desires in the heart are completely dead, who is absolutely desireless. Sri Krishna also says the yogi means one who has attained the yoga, not always one who is still in the practice. One who is attained the yoga is absolutely desireless. It means only one who has eradicated all the desires can become a real yogi and fit to enjoy the beautiful life, beauty of life.
And who is ever content in his perfect union with the blissful Atman.
Who is
Content.
ever content?
In his perfect union with the blissful Atman.
He is ever content in his union with the blissful Atman. He knows he is abiding in the self. There is nothing more for him to attain. He is always in bliss.
He would dispassionately look upon the pleasures and pains resulting from contact with sense objects.
He is able to dispassionately look upon the pleasures and pains that are coming in contact with the sense objects. Means he is above the sense pleasures. Because he is abiding in the Atman, the world of senses has no meaning for him.
He would be free from wrath, hatred and fear.
He would be free from wrath, hatred and fear. These two things do not affect him. All these arise in us because of body consciousness. Now as he has risen above body consciousness, these little things do not affect him.
Having perfect control over his mind and senses, he would ever remain calm and unaffected by good or evil fortune.
That's very clear. Because he has full control over the mind, nothing in the world can shake him.
And by the effects of attraction and repulsion. It is not sufficient for the yogi merely to reject the objects of sense, but the desire for them must be uprooted from the heart.
That is also very important. We may be facing certain situations where mentally we may reject the enjoyment of certain objects. But deep within we may have subtle desire for the enjoyment of senses. That also should be completely eradicated. We may physically reject, but mentally also we should not be attracted by them. Mentally we must have that repulsion to it.
This becomes possible only when the soul is fully merged in and has become perfectly one with the all-pervading existence of God.
All these are possible only when our soul is completely merged in the all-merciful existence of God, where there is nothing to attract, no desire to remain, no desire will be there, and everything will be peace and bliss only. When we are enjoying that bliss and peace, which is our true self, all these little things of the world will never attract us, and we will never be affected by anything that happens in the world.
It is evident from what has been said that the false desire and the moha arising therefrom are causes of man's downfall.
Will you read it again?
It is evident from what has been said that the false desire and the moha arising therefrom are causes of man's downfall.
Yes, moha means the moment we come down from that plane of supreme consciousness, we identify ourselves with certain things of the world, and that moha takes hold of us. That makes us unhappy and miserable.
So long as his mind is thinking on the objects of sense, he cannot rise to the height of yoga.
When we are still in the lower planes, we cannot reach the heights of yoga. We must, by practice, raise ourselves to heights, leaving all these as those that cannot give us happiness, as undesirable enjoyments.
The purified buddhi achieved through high concentration is found to be dragged down by the powerful pull of the mind and the senses.
Even when our intellect is purified, mind is purified, but when we are mixing in the world, the pull of the lower nature is so strong that we are likely to be dragged down from, and it will be difficult for us to lift ourselves to that heights.
The moment desire or karma springs up in the mind and waxes strong, feeding upon the objects through the senses, it gives birth to wrath. It hurls the soul into delusion with the ultimate result that the awakened and illumined intellect is again obsessed by the blinding darkness of ignorance.
Yes, it's clear. The moment our mind comes down, we are obsessed by moha. We are obsessed by ignorance and thereby moha. So we should never allow our mind to come down to the earthly consciousness, worldly consciousness. We will always be remembering the Lord who is above all these names and forms, who is peace and bliss absolute. We must try to keep the mind staying on that aspect of God. If at all we think of the world, we must feel that this is also manifestation of God, never as separate from God. In that way we will not be attracted by the senses and the enjoyments of the senses.
Therefore, the peace and the harmony of equilibrium or yoga is maintained intact by complete self-control through a strict self-discipline.
And if we are able to keep our mind centered on God always, we will not be attracted by these sense objects, and thereby we will be able to maintain peace and happiness in all conditions and circumstances.
By this practice, the fallen aspirant regains his lost yoga.
If he had fallen down, this practice is absolutely necessary to raise himself from that fallen condition.
So, to subdue desire and the resultant moha, the restless mind and the senses have to be brought under subjection of the Atman.
So, when we are controlled by moha, our effort must be to commune with the Atman and reject all those that have been attracting us. That is a regular struggle for the aspirant.
By this practice, the fever of the senses is abated and the rush of the mind is checked and stopped.
Read it again.
By this practice, the fever of the senses is abated
Fever.
and the rush of the mind is checked and stopped.
That's right.
And the soul enjoys the unshakable peace of the eternal.
That's right. The mind is, by this practice, mind is lifted up and the soul enjoys supreme peace and bliss.
Now,
So,
now, the yogi awakes in the realm of the immortal spirit and sleeps with regard to the external world manifestation, whereas the case of the ignorant soul is quite the reverse.
can you read it again?
Now, the yogi awakes in the realm of the immortal spirit and sleeps with regard to the external world manifestation, whereas the case of the ignorant soul is quite the reverse.
The yogi is identifying himself with the Supreme Being and also with the outside world which he has identified with, which he has accepted as manifestation of God. Then there is no problem for him. Now, what is the next portion of the sentence?
He sleeps with regard to the external world manifestation,
Yes.
whereas the case of the ignorant soul is quite the reverse.
Whereas the ignorant soul suffers because he is not identifying himself with the Atman nor with the outside world. He feels he is separate from everything. So that is a way to attain yoga.
The yogis desire being dead, and he being free from egoism and unruffled by the outside events and happenings, attain the eternal.
So, the yogi, because he is free from desire of any kind, he has reached a state of absolute desireless. He is able to lift himself to that high consciousness and abide in the self.
Even he who is fixed in the eternal at the time of the dissolution of his body is absorbed in the immortal being of God.
A yogi who is always practicing this sadhana, when he leaves the body, he is in communion with that pure consciousness, will not have to take another body again. He will merge in the Supreme Being. So that is the science of the Siddha Prajna. This is about the highest attainment one can have. That is indicated in the Gita. Gita actually this chapter actually covers the entire Gita. Everything is included. But now the next few chapters will show the way to reach this exalted state.
The slokas first one. Siddha Prajna slokas
All
first.
about it. So, to live in the world, first of all, most important thing naturally is to know ourselves, to know what we are. If we know that, our actions will be pure and helpful in making our life happy and peaceful in every way, and successful also. Otherwise, we will be always miserable, fighting with others, unhappy if anything bad happens. So try to know ourselves. That's all what is required. What is the next chapter? Karma Yoga. Next chapter we will read tomorrow. It leads to how by doing activities we will be able to reach the Supreme Light. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai